Does moving camera from one workstation to another stand in the way of documenting your work? Do you run a small workshop and are trying to video your work, but are tired of setting cameras and lights up every time you move to the next task? Do you just want to focus on a thing that you're good at and are actually enjoying? Or maybe you're just looking for a cheap way to attach camera and lighting gear for your video shoot. You should check this out. It's pretty versatile and the files are free to grab from the link below. Let me quickly go over the attachments that I came up with. This one is an inline or end cap attachment. It's made of three 3D printed parts, 2-inch bolt, nut washer, and some O-rings. Once inserted inside conduit and tightened, the O-rings give enough friction to keep the thing from falling out. Just like all these attachments, I added a cheap ball joint from Amazon to it for flexibility. I paid $8 for two of them. You can probably even get them cheaper on AliExpress or some other place. Let's relax these O-rings a little bit and slide it in to the end of our stem. Out of all the attachments, this one is probably the best to hang things that have a little more weight to it and hang straight down from the ceiling, because it's directly in line with the conduit or the stem, as opposed to hanging laterally using clips. Each conduit is hung from the ceiling using a 3D printed base and a connector. You can mount it from anything you want, really. So this one here is a snap attachment that just clips onto the conduit. I printed these out of high flow PETG. These are pretty stiff and I had one of them cracked because how tight they go on. I'm still trying to fine tune the fit to make it nice and snug without having them crack, but at the same time maintain firm grip around the pipe. Here's an example of another cheap light getting attached. This here is a flat tab that I made for my Hollyland wireless microphone. These mics are great bang for the buck. They sound great in my opinion. I just wanted to come up with a way to attach it somewhere else other than color of my shirt. It may work for some other things that utilize clip too. Otherwise it's just specific for this microphone. I even made a little stand for the mic to put down on the table when I'm recording voiceovers. It has a little base, stand made out of 3/4 EMT, just like everything else. This is just another iteration of snap clip. It has these grooves in the back to let you wrap things with rubber bands. It's for small things that don't have the 1/4-20 attachment point. I figured it would be nice to have an option to attach random things to it. Let me just show you quickly how it works. Wrap one end, pull tight to the other side, and wrap it around to the other end. And there you have it, a random object hanging off a 3/4 inch EMT. This one here is my favorite, and it's the reason I came up with this setup to begin with. It's an Insta360 GO 3 socket with magnets to hold the camera in place. One thing you have to make sure is that when you glue the magnets in, they have to be opposing polarity to the ones built into the Insta360 camera. They actually are both in different orientations too, so one is south, the other one's north. Just like the microphone tab, this one has a nut on the bottom of it. Just screw it on, lock it in, and ready to go. This insert here lets you set up and adjust camera at each workstation. And when you're ready to move to the next workstation, where you have another one of these set up, pop the camera in there, take it somewhere else, do your work, and move to the next. Keeping setup time to a minimum, keeping everything within the same frame, which also makes editing a whole lot easier. Now if you want to see how I made this horizontal bar out of conduit and how I assembled parts, stick with me for a few more minutes and I'll show you how I did it. Alright, let's start with camera sockets. Print as many sockets as you think you need. Get your ball joints ready. Print as many bases as workstation you plan to set up. If you're going to stick camera on metal surfaces, print one of these out. Use brute force to open your super glue. For these camera sockets, the nut fits in pretty tight, so a little force will help, and I didn't glue any of mine, but it won't hurt to glue the nut in. Here you go, squeeze that sucker in. So I think it's pretty obvious that this whole thing is just built around Insta360 GO 3. That's the camera that I bought. At the time it's a pretty good camera. There might be another one out by now. These things, they come out like hotcakes. There's new one coming out like every couple of months. Cannot keep up with the trends. With good lighting, it shoots pretty good videos. I'm happy with it. I don't really have an interest of getting another camera. I can't keep spending money on stupid stuff. I have more important things to spend money on than cameras. I'm gonna upload all these files as step file format, so you can do whatever you want with it. I built this thing out of necessity because I feel like documenting my work and showing it to everybody else is pretty important these days as a maker slash creator. I work a full-time job and my afternoons are not very long, so whatever time I have to spare, I work in the garage and I make things. If I spend 5 minutes setting up a camera at 5 different workstations, that's almost a half hour, and that's the half hour that I could spend just manufacturing something. Not to mention that my attention span is not very good. I could just get steered away from what I'm actually working on, distracted by just setting up a tripod. Here's the arming set from Harbor Freight. I don't know about your garage, but I have a surprisingly impressive amount of metal surfaces that I can stick this thing on. In this part, I will show you how to make the horizontal overhead bar. If you own a 3/4 inch EMT bender or know someone that has one, you can bend this pipe stuff to whatever you please. Before I start, please don't use this as a pull-up bar. This thing will not hold a lot of weight. Also use it at your own risk. You print those things, you make them, you install them, and you take full responsibility when you use it. I'm going to start with a rough measurement. In my case, it's 5 feet from one base to the other. I don't recommend going longer than 5 feet because of how it loses rigidity as it gets longer. EMT is not known for being very stiff. And I'm going to have it hang 12 inches down. So I mark conduit at 6 inches because the bender adds 6 inches as it bends a 90-degree bend. Every bender has a deduction stamped on it. Set the pipe to an arrow mark on the bender. Keep constant foot pressure on the bender to avoid kinks, and go for it. Make sure it's plumb when you're done. Now carry on to marking conduit for the second bend. Mark your back-to-back measurements. In my case, 5 feet, like I said before. This time you will set the mark to the point of the start mark on the bender, a little further back on the bender shoe. Make sure the bender and the other side of the conduit you bent are in line, and go for it. Oh, and make sure you get the other camera rolling with the watch. Hit it. There you have it. Perfect 90-degree bend. Now, mark the bar height on the other end. This should be whatever your first 90-degree bend came out to be. Cut it down to size. And here's your bar. Now let's mount the thing. A quick dry fit to see how it looks and feels. Now get bases and 3/4 inch EMT connectors ready. They don't have to be compression type like mine. I just happen to have some left over from a previous project. Get those on a pipe, snug it down. Alright, another dry fit. At this point, it helps to have another set of hands if your bar is long. Mark the holes, drop anchors in. I use these coarse thread sheetrock anchors called zippets, and I don't even have enough of them. I'll just add more later. Pop that sucker in on the other side. Mount the other base. And tighten connectors up. There you have it. In less than an hour and a few dollars, here's your overhead bar that you can use for lights, backdrops, or hang your $60 cameraman upside down to follow you. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, I'm very impressed actually. This is my first long format video with much room for improvement obviously, but I have to start somewhere. If you wind up using this for yourself, I would be very happy to see how this helps you. Thank you.